And that's Faye.
Awesome. And that's Shay and Faye. Uh-oh.
Oh, that's a show
we're
right
there.
there.
We're the after show.
I watched both of y'all last week in the Florida Grand Opera series. Well, you did a great job. It was really good.
Thank you. That was when I met Shay for the first time. She is amazing.
We had a lot of fun.
We love Pride Lines here at Queer News.
Yes,
Thank you.
Big supporters.
Thank you for all you do. We're going to have a great show today.
I'm excited.
I can't wait to show the penises on the bathroom walls at Gaythering.
The peens.
The peens.
I love that. Well, I don't really love that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we know what you mean. Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It's 7 p.m. Monday, March 29th, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
The world's first live daily queer evening news show. Out of the closet and into the headlines on Q News Tonight.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is an unedited, live LGBTQ evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it.
This evening, we bring you the news and of perspective representing the LGBTQ community from South Florida, America, and across the world.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and tonight let's welcome anchor Faye. What? She's out, she's proud, and I comment the most that she's most certainly loud.
Just a little.
She's a Latina to be reckoned with. She's half Puerto Rican, half Colombian, and 100% freaking Jersey. She's a radio personality and has the popular blog and YouTube channel called Faye What? Aiming to unite the L and the G together, she's a hostess and MC for many South Florida events, a board member at Unity Coalition, as well as host of their new show, UCTV, and an animal activist and owner at Faye's Fur Family. Whew, I'm tired, wow. And also the anchor of the new Happening Out.Travel news show. Good evening, Faye.
Good evening, white privilege. How you doing?
I'll accept that. Let's welcome anchor Schaefer Zarette. She serves as the Director of Development of Pride Lines, South Florida's oldest direct services agency for the LGBTQ people and a grassroots 501c3 not-for-profit organization founded by gay and bisexual youth for LGBTQ youth and their allies. Good evening, Schaefer.
Good evening.
Well, tonight we are going to begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Monday, March 29th.
Let's kick it off by queering up entertainment. The cast of Glee will reunite to honor late actress Naya Rivera at the GLAAD Awards. The cast of the hit show Glee will be reuniting at the 32nd annual GLAAD Media Awards ceremony. They will be honoring their late fellow cast member Naya Rivera. The out actress was 33 when it was announced that she had died in July. Her body was recovered from a lake after she had went missing, and her 4-year-old son, Josie, was found alone on the boat that the two had ventured out on. Rivera played Santana Lopez, a lesbian cheerleader, on the hit television show from 2009 to 2015. Rivera was bisexual, casually coming out on The View in 2015 with little fanfare. Demi Lovato, who was a guest star that played Danny, the character that was a love interest of Lopez, will introduce the tribute. Cast members Jacob Artis, Chris Colfer, Darren Crease, Vanessa Linges, Jane Lynch, Kevin McHale, Heather Morris, Matthew Morrison, Alex Nexwell, Amber Riley, Harry Shum Jr., Becca Tobin, and Jenna Ushkowitz are all confirmed to take part. Diana Argon and Leah Michelle are among those notably not confirmed to participate. The 32nd Annual GLAAD Media Awards will air April 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern, hosted by Niecy Nash. It will stream on YouTube, followed by airing on Hulu at 10 p.m. Eastern, and available for streaming for months later. Announced special guests at the show include out entertainers Matt Bomer, Katy Perry, Anthony Rapp, JoJo Siwa, and Sam Smith, among others.
I love that. It's so great to see so many people coming together to honor the late Naya Rivera. It'll be a lot of fun to watch.
I love Glee. I'm a little surprised that Lea Michele is not there.
Yeah.
In the year that she's had with all of the publicity, the post-publicity of relationship among Glee cast members, Lea, goodness, this is the year you need to be showing up. The GLAAD Media Awards are really, really important because we discuss this at Queer News Tonight frequently. Representation matters, and this is a signature point of the entire year to say, here's how entertainers, businesses, etc., represented our community for the last year. So they're really important. Tune in April 8th.
I got to piggyback on what Al said. Lea Michele, come on, girl. You know, all the stuff that they've been saying about what a bitch you are, this might be a good time to redeem yourself and go there and show face, mama. What's going on? Yeah. Anyway, Naya Rivera was one of my favorite characters. I mean, that was Santana. Like, she was the first one that I had a crush on Glee. And, you know, I'm one of those people that think that Glee was cursed, you know, because they lost so many members of that cast. Yeah. Anyway, I will definitely be watching.
You know, and I can't help but think when you make that connection and the first connection, who Naya Rivera kind of reminds me of.
Who? Who?
I wonder who.
Go on, Shay.
Next, let's queer up gay culture. In a world of hate crimes, the joy and beauty of Asian American men. At Queer News Tonight, we are committed to support queer culture from painters, writers, books, photographers, and more. Tonight, in light of the terrible hate crimes we are seeing against the Asian American community, we have an opportunity to spotlight world-famous photographer Terry Hastings. The Palm Springs photographer specializes in the art of the male nude. Hastings' art has won many awards, and his photos have shown in many museums and galleries across the country and collected around the globe. Hastings said on his social media, quote, "In light of the recent increase in Asian hate crimes, I'm sending you some hashtag Asian beauty, hashtag Asian awareness, hashtag Asian American photos." Not only is Asian hate growing in American culture, it has always been a part of the gay community as well. No fats, no femmes, no Asian is all too common on Grindr, and it needs to be addressed. As you can see, quote, as you can see, the photographer's eye and the men he captures is beautiful. You can support his efforts on his website, thehastingsgallery.com, and on his social media.
You know, Terry Hastings makes such a terrific point, and absolutely brilliant in terms of him doing the post over the weekend to draw attention to the Atlanta shootings and the hate that is going on against Asian Americans in America. And I love how he makes the connection to his art of his photography with the idea that we do this even in our own community, in the referencing Grindr on no fats, no femmes, no Asians. I'm not on Grindr, but I tell you, his statement really hits home from the standpoint of it is so easy and can be so quick for us to judge and to jump into judgment, and that those lines of judgment lead to hate and hate crimes and to violence, and as we saw in Atlanta, murder and death. So his photographs come at a really great time for the LGBTQ community.
I love the pictures. I want some of these pictures on my ceiling, all right? I'm just telling you. I mean, wow, those boys were scrumptious, let me tell you. So the HastingsGallery.com, go check it out, go support them. You know, they took away my Grindr account. Go figure, why would they do that, right? So I have never seen the no fat, no femmes, no Asians. That's just disgusting. Whoever does that, you guys are just gross, just to let you know.
A gigantic number of people in Grindr.
Okay, well, yeah.
And it's so important for the arts community to bring in that culture and infuse us with what we need during this self-care moment where there's so much hate and there's so much just anger, and art does that, and it's just so beautiful to see an artist truly kind of embrace the community and provide what we all need, which is something beautiful to look at.
And Shay, I must mention, his goal living in Palm Springs and using his photographs to fight bullying and discrimination and hate. Very involved at Pride Lines. That's one of the principal missions at Pride Lines, to try to stand up for LGBTQ youth, young people in schools, etc., to fight exactly this kind of hate.
It definitely is, and we have a fond appreciation as well for the arts, as our building is also a gallery and features many works from many different artists to highlight and combat, as you said, that hate and bullying.
Excellent. Well, let's continue by queering up South Florida. The Outshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival returns in April. Today, ticket sales open for the first time for one of America's most important motion picture events, the Outshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival. This spring, the at-home edition will allow digital online access, and the festival will be from April 23rd to May 2nd. The festival will feature 44 featured films and 85 films in total from 21 different countries. The festival is presented by Gilead Sciences and Miami-Dade County. You can attend the unique festival sneak peek film Potato Dreams of America on April 23rd for opening night, as the opening night film drive-in event at Desertland. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Desertland. The closing night film will be a special outdoor screening at Miami Beach Botanical Gardens on May 2nd, and that film will be Charlatan. The Outshine Film Festival promises to be one of the highlights of the South Florida LGBTQ spring calendar, and more details can be seen at outshinefilm.com.
I can't wait for the Outshine Film Festival. Every single year they bring us such exceptional films from all over the world, like Al had said. And last year, I mean, I was binge watching like all the movies. I had just finished all the freaking Tiger King, right? So I needed something, right? So this year will be more relaxing setting in Alberna's household. But I'm even more excited about the outdoor events, the beginning and the ending one, you know, to be fellowship, to be seeing people. You know, I'm really going to look forward to that. I'm glad that they're back.
Yes, and I've never driven up and watched anything, so I'm really excited to do that and have to show some amazing love to our neighbors at Pride Lines. We see them work tirelessly day in and day out, year-round, to put this on, so really excited to see what's to come.
You know, it's one of the most, I've been involved in a number of festivals. I've sponsored some of the LGBT festivals around the country. It's one of the most important in the country, and we've watched a year where it's been a struggle for almost every 501c3. The one thing that is really going to be celebratory for April 23rd to May 2nd is it's a transition event. It's largely digital online, but you have a couple of opportunities, 3 different opportunities, where you can participate safely in person. What that says to me is we can celebrate queer film. We decide that queer film is important to us, even if you can find it in other alternatives. The very nature of a film festival like Outshine is important, and it is also signaling to all of us we're in transition now. Things are getting better, things are going to improve for our 501c3s, and things are going to improve for the better for our entire LGBTQ community. That's what the Outshine Film Festival means to me.
I predict a movie about Al Ferguson in one of the future Outshine Film Festivals. You heard it here first on Queer News Tonight. Next, we continue to queer up South Florida. Miami's Hotel Gaythering reveals hot new mural by Black queer artists.
Wait, I want to know, first off, how did you get this story and not me? Because I really wanted
Because I'm the gay boy on the panel.
Oh, okay. Enough said.
Just saying. Hotel Gaythering, a gay-owned boutique hotel in Miami Beach, has revealed a new art installation by artist DePaul Vera. The theme is called Happy to See You Bathroom Mural. Gaythering, an adult-only hotel and sauna for men, commissioned the piece after seeing Vera's flamboyantly colorful Dick Mark series of illustrated bookmarks. Vera, a Nashville, Tennessee native, is a designer, illustrator, and color enthusiast. Chose monochromatic line drawings for the work, which is a compilation of dick pics yes, you heard me right, dick pics submitted by local Miami Beach men, drawn in exaggerated scales, and brought to life in the hotel's new bathroom interior. The new work was also inspired by Keith Haring's iconic mural, Once Upon a Time, 1989, which the gay graphic artist painted on the walls of the Greenwich Village's LGBTQ Center's second-floor bathroom shortly before his death from AIDS complications in 1990. Alexander Guerra, who co-owns Hotel Gaythering, recently viewed the Haring mural and says he instantly knew he wanted DePaul to immerse the men's bathroom walls. Guerra said, quote, "I wanted the Gaythering bathroom to be a celebration of DePaul and his vision of penis." Big, small, the hours admiring our own, catching glimpses of others, and the hours and hours and hours and hours some of us have spent on Pornhub, end quote. Vera said, quote, as a Black queer cis male, I am overjoyed to present my work unabashedly in all its vulgarity, end quote. Everyone at Queer News Tonight encourage you to visit Miami Beach and stop by for the view in person at the Gaythering.
Whew. That was a lot of exaggerated. There
was a lot
5
of
inches is
toxic
really 50
masculinity in
inches.
that, wasn't there? Yeah. Well, actually, I love the toxic masculinity in this context. You know what's really great about this? First off, allow me to toot Faye's horn. Where are you going to watch a news story like this? Where? Absolutely wonderful. They tongue-in-cheek talk about the vulgarity of this art and being on a bathroom wall in an LGBT boutique hotel and reverence the LGBTQ Center in New York from their second floor bathroom. All great, great things. It represents such great artistic diversity in our community, even with exaggerated penises on our wall. I absolutely love it.
I can't wait to go and see it myself, you know? I mean, I go to the Gaythering on Fridays when they do the drag race viewing party,
Wait,
right?
You never invited me to the Gaythering.
Yeah, I haven't. So I go there on Fridays and I hang out with my girl Cece Glitzer. She's been on the show, and I love to go to the boys' bathroom and look around and see peens everywhere. That would be awesome. They refer to penises as peens in the news story, and I'm keeping that. That's it. Stop being a peen head. Why are you being such a peen?
RuPaul Friday nights. You've never invited me to the Gaythering. You know what? I've never been to the Gaythering. I'm going to see.
I will take you to the Gaythering.
That's the true headline here.
That's right.
That is our queer headlines for today. So let's catch up on the LGBTQ news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies. Queer News Tonight has been LGBTQ America's most important news source on the pandemic, as we have reported on coronavirus on every news broadcast since January 6th, 2020.
Tonight, we report the devastating effect coronavirus has had on the American and worldwide LGBTQ community in total cases and deaths. We also provide hope of a new light at the end of this long tunnel. As of tonight, more than 2,186,000 LGBTQ Americans have contracted COVID-19, and more than 39,300 LGBTQ Americans have died from coronavirus. As of today, more than 143,462,000 vaccination doses have been administered in the U.S.
Queer News Tonight next is proud to support our local influencers, personalities, drag queens, artists, and entertainers here in South Florida. And tonight we are happy to feature Gregg Shapiro, part of an upcoming reading during Miami Poetry Festival.
The O is a direct address of the beloved, and Miami is our beloved. The mission of the annual Miami Poetry Festival is for every single person in Miami to encounter a poem. Each festival throughout the month of April, they work side by side with Miamians to bring poetry to the forefront of civic life, co-producing on average 41 events and 23 projects.
Joining us tonight is Gregg Shapiro. He is the author of 7 books, most recently Sunshine State, his Florida-centric poetry chapbook that observes and writes about his adopted state with wisdom, passion, a quiet humor, and a sharp eye for detail. He is an entertainment journalist whose interviews and reviews run in a variety of regional LGBTQ+ and mainstream publications and websites, and currently lives in Fort Lauderdale.
Well, to tell us more about his upcoming reading of Sunshine State on Wednesday, April 7th at 8 p.m. at Miami Poetry Festival is author Gregg Shapiro. Welcome, Gregg, to Queer News Tonight. We're very excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I have to begin in terms of the focus of this festival. I haven't been to Miami Poetry Festival before. I love its stated mission to try to allow every single resident to hear a poem in the month of April. Tell us a little bit about the festival itself and its intent and what you're trying to accomplish and why you're involved in it.
Well, I'm just merely a participant in it. All that other information can be found at the OMiami website, which is omiami.org. This is actually the second time I've been invited to take part as a poet in the festival.
You are LGBT.
Yes.
You watched poetry, certainly in every 4-year cycle, comes to attention of America and the world because of the poem that is done at the inauguration. Whenever I talk to a poet, I always think about that moment. What did you think this year at the Biden inauguration and her reading of the poem that she did?
Well, I think Amanda Gorman did a wonderful job. She wrote the exact right poem for the exact right moment.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember, of course, that Trump did not have a poet at his because he's illiterate. And, and then prior to that, of course, Miami's own Richard Blanco, gay poet, was one of the poets that was featured in during Obama's inauguration.
Yes, Richard's been on Queer News tonight. Gregg, I want to ask you about Sunshine State. First off, we always make note, sometimes our headline, we have a segment in Queer News that's called Freak Show Florida. And we make fun of the interesting nature and character of the Sunshine State. We are made up of people from everywhere on the planet, and they come here and they bring every nuance of their culture and life here, and we are this amalgamation of this interesting gumbo soup, including the LGBTQ community. So tell us a little bit about Sunshine State and what's behind that project.
The book came out in 2019. It was all poems that have been written since I've been living in South Florida, which is 7 years this month. I moved here from Chicago. No more winter for me. And so, I mean, that's really what was a way to sort of put these poems together because they fit so well in the theme of Sunshine State. And that also leads to this reading on the 7th of April at Miami, which is 5 South Florida poets. Denise Duhamel, Maureen Seaton, Caridad Moro-Gronlier, and Brendan Walsh, all of whom have new and recent books out in which Florida figures very prominently. Florida as a subject, but also issues related to Florida, such as climate change.
And will they all be with you on the April?
Yes, all 5 of us are doing this. It's a Zoom reading. And actually I brought, so this is my book. This is Brendan's book. This, of course, as you know, is Caridad's book. This is Denise Duhamel's book, which just also recently came out, and Maureen Seaton's book, which just came out. And of the 5 poets, Maureen, Caridad, and I are all members of the LGBTQ community.
Very nice. So 3 of the 5
of the 5
are
yes.
LGBT. And is there? I'm always curious about this when I talk to people with Queer News Tonight or It's Happening Out. We bring to light people that represent different kind of achievements. Last week I talked to the person who was the first LGBT to climb Mount Everest and the 7 summits. And I always ask, out of my curiosity, and the same for you, Gregg, is there a difference for LGBT members of our community being poets and where you see other poets' perspective? Has the community had some influence on you that affects your words and your cadence and your thoughts behind your poetry?
Absolutely. As both a poet and fiction writer, that is the main subject of my work. Very much so. It informs my identity completely. And thankfully, in the poetry world, there are a lot of other LGBTQ poets. Jericho Brown, who won the Pulitzer Prize, I believe the Pulitzer Prize, last year, queer black poet, which was kind of an amazing thing that happened. So yes, there is definitely a presence, and you can hear it in the work. I mean, you think back to like Walt Whitman or Allen Ginsberg. I mean, there are Adrienne Rich, Audre Lorde. I mean, there's always been this very strong presence of queer poets in the Langston Hughes, just so many.
So can I ask, Greg, so this book is called Sunshine State, so it's inspired by the Sunshine State, et cetera. Now, this little thing called COVID happened last year. You know, were you writing? Were you inspired by COVID? Or are we going to have like some new poetry based on quarantining and Netflixing and chill?
Well, I have to say, I probably had the most prolific year. 2020 may have in fact been the most prolific year in terms of writing poetry, I would say in the last 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
Because what else was there to do but to write? And I actually did put together a chapbook, which is Sunshine State. Oops, is a chapbook, which is just a shorter book of poetry called The Hand Washer's Tale. And thank you.
That's fun.
And so
That's clever, actually.
thank you. I've sent that out to various publishers, and I'm waiting to hear.
You better get that printed. They're going to steal that.
Yeah, I'm curious, Greg. So we've gone through pandemic. We lost a host here at Happening Out that was on the show. So you've had this tremendous burst of inspiration in the last year, but I'm curious, the pandemic, we reported, you saw us report tonight, nearly 40,000 LGBTQ have died from COVID-19 in the United States. Was your inspiration of poetry and the spurt of inspiration you had, was it from a negative place, or was it a positive place, or where did the spurt of inspiration, besides time, we understand that, but where did it come from? What?
Well, being a gay man of a certain age, having been through an epidemic in the early days of the AIDS crisis, it all felt terrifyingly familiar. Yet another Republican administration bungling a health crisis in horrible ways. So yes, that again, that also figured into my work. I have a poem that was recently published in a magazine called RFD, which is out of Vermont, and the title of the poem is Quarantine, in which I sort of play on the concept of quarantine, but also talk about the way that in the early days of the AIDS crisis, there was this threat of quarantining gay people. So yes, it's so negative. Yes, I guess that there's a negative thing, but also humor is very important in my work, fiction and poetry, and so it was important to me to also find ways to incorporate humor into what I was creating. Well,
Greg, tell us how do we tune in and see you next week along with these other poets at the Miami Poetry Festival? How do we do that?
So again, I would say go to the website omiami.org. And if you go down to it has a list of the events on the left side, click on events, and then when you get to April 7th, just click on that, and it will take you right to how you can attend.
And Greg, how do we get Sunshine State? Where can we get it?
You can get it from Night Ballet Press, which is the publisher of the book, based in Cleveland, Ohio. I believe it's nightballetpress.com.
And we can come and find out more about you at your social media.
Yes, I'm all over the Facebook.
Yeah, all over the Facebook. All right, well, Greg, fascinating. We wish you all the luck next week.
Thank you very much.
And we're thrilled to bring Miami Poetry Festival to the LGBTQ community, and Greg's participation next week during the festival. And Greg, we thank you for being with us tonight at Queer News Tonight.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you. I'm going to steal that. Quarantine. I'm stealing that right now, bro. You better get all that set up because I'm going to steal it. Faye what? Writes poetry. Yeah, right. Next up tonight, we are happy also to feature one of my friends and an incredible poet, Caridad Moro-Gronlier, one of the 5 South Florida LGBTQ authors featured as part of an upcoming reading during Miami Poetry Festival.
She is a contributing editor for GLAAD. Poets and writers respond to sexual assault, empowerment, and healing, and an associate editor for Swim, Everyday, an online daily poetry journal. She is the author of the chapbook Visionware as part of one of its new Women's Voices series, and the author of
Tortillera!
winner of the, I love having an echo voice, winner of the TRP Southern Poetry Breakthrough Prize for Florida. The work contained in
Tortillera!
befits its audacious, we're going to be here all week, by the way, all week, befits its audacious title, bold, original, and utterly without shame. And apparently Faye doesn't have any either.
Hailed as an unflinching, delicious, and fierce anthem to the Cuban American and queer identities, her poetry reclaims the homophobic slur of its title. The poems in
Tortillera!
come clean, but more than that, they guide, reveal, and examine larger considerations: the role of language on gender, its subsequent roles, the heart-trending consequences of compulsory heterosexuality, as well as the patriarchal stamp emblazoned on the Cuban diaspora.
To tell us more about her upcoming reading of Tortillera, April 7th at 8 p.m. at Old Miami Poetry Festival, is author Caridad Moro-Gronlier. Welcome, Caridad, to Queer News Tonight.
Hi, Faye. It's so great to be here with you.
You make me so happy.
You know,
Caridad.
before Faye starts, I just want to ask, did you pay her like $25 every time she bellowed out the name of your book?
I didn't, because that's my girl, and she's representing, so, you know,
You're
one
the best,
tortilla
Caridad.
to another.
Yeah, right? Listen, so speaking of, I remember being called the tortillera. I remember being called the tortillera when I lived in California, and I thought it was like a Mexican slang thing. I wasn't aware of what it was. So what was it about that word that made you want to name your book Tortillera?
Well, in the Cuban culture that I grew up in, tortillera was like the ultimate, it was like subdike, the ultimate slur you could put on anyone. Like, for example, my father used to say, prefiero que sea puta a tortillera. I prefer you be a whore than a lesbian. So for a long time, just the mere mention of that word was so shameful, so humiliating, that it kind of affected the trajectory of my own coming out, my own being able to look in a mirror and call myself that. So I decided that in order to not have that term hurt me anymore, I was just going to own it and claim it. And but I am.
I think you've owned it and you've earned it, Cari, just to let you know. So Caridad is
This
also
is true.
This is true. And so Caridad is also a teacher, guys, and she is just incredible in what she does. Did teaching in any way, shape, or form inspire any of your poetry?
My life inspires my poetry in different ways. And while I typically don't write about my students as autobiographically as I write about myself, of course, they do influence the things that I see. I've written about ROTC presentations in my classroom. I've written about pregnant teenagers in a high school. So yes, they do. The things that really move me do make it to the page. And it informs every day of my life. So how could it not?
Faye, I want to ask, what's the literal English translation of the word?
Tortillas.
Well, it's funny that you asked that, Al, because the first poem in the book is actually a definition where I queer the Oxford English Dictionary, and I define the word. And I go through and I did a lot of etymological research, and I was able to trace back the origins of tortillera all the way back to the German Q, which means queer. So this is a term that's been traveling across the Americas for centuries.
And
it was
I wanted to ask, you are Puerto Rican, Colombian family. Your family is Cuban. Is Cuba a unique place in terms of once upon a time the attitude toward queer community, or is it a Latin thing, or is it a regional thing? The foundation basis of how you're reclaiming it is, does it come out of some Latin culture more than other Latin cultures?
I'm going to go ahead and speak for just Latinidad as a whole, and I'd say that we're pretty homophobic at the core. I can't think of a single Latino culture that's like, yes, my daughter's a lesbian, or ooh, my niño, is gay. That just would not happen, at least in my experience. So I would say that it is pretty pervasive, and it is an ethos that we've had to tear down, for a really long time. I think it's better now, at least in my experience and the experience of the younger generation, for example, my students. But there are still many, many students that cross the Latino, geographical borders that encounter the same cultural resistance to anything LGBTQ.
It's not a funny slang, Al. It's really like a nasty through the floor kind of, you're a tortillera, like you're just the lowest of the low lesbian, and that's why one of the reasons why I love Caridad and became her friend instantly was because she made it a beautiful word. She made it something that I would go, tortillera, I'm excited about being a tortillera, so we're reclaiming that word. We're taking that word back and we're making it okay to have it and be shining off us, right, Cari?
What's interesting about
Absolutely.
this is in poetry and in word, in written language, you're doing the same thing or a similar thing that we're doing at Queer News Tonight. We very openly use the word queer over and over and over again, and that is partially a reclaiming of the word, to say, yes, we understand that was a slur, but we take the slur back and we live it proudly. That's what I'm hearing.
And we own it.
That's exactly right.
So Caridad, you're going to be on this panel with Mr. Gregg Shapiro that we just had on the show a couple moments ago, right? And he was saying that there was 3 LGBTQ representation on that panel. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we're going to be reading from our recent books, and when I see the advertisement for that particular reading, I could cry. As a very young baby tortillera, I was reading Maureen Seaton's book, Sex Talks for Girls. I was reading Denise Duhamel's book, Kinky, on the floor of the Books and Books on Miami Beach. So these are my role models. These are my goddesses. So to go from being somebody who looked up to them, and now I'm their peer, and not only am I their peer, but I'm graced to call them my friends, is really just, I can't even explain it. It blows my mind every time that I think about it. And that little Cuban girl that I was, looking up to these people, she's just so happy. She's just so happy.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I can't wait to see you on this panel, for real.
Yeah.
So where would we? I think that Gregg had told us that we go to what was the website?
Miami.org. Miami.org, and you'll see events on the left-hand side. You'll find April 7th, and you'll find the link there.
All right, my darling. Thank you so much, Cari, for being with us today. You are spectacular. We love you. You can get her book. Where can we get Tortillera? Where can we get your book, Caridad?
You can get it at Books and Books and at Texas Review Press. TexasReviewPress.org, booksandbooks.com.
Oh, we've come a long way, Caridad. Before, we used to go to Books and Books and just read the books there and have to leave them there because we couldn't afford them. Now we buy them. All right? We've come a long way, my friend.
We're fancy now.
We're fancy. That's exactly
all right. I will definitely be watching, and all of you out there watching Queer News Tonight, make sure that you support them at Miami Poetry Festival. It's going to be fantabulous, Caridad. We will talk to you soon, my friend. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Good night. Bye.
Well, that is our previous COVID news and our focus on Miami, the Poetry Festival. Next, we are going to report that Happening Out Television Network is passionate about our support for the LGBTQ community. An example is Sunshine Cathedral. This is the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership. The network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ religious broadcast in the world, with more than 30,000 people watching every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and it's totally live. We encourage you to tune in. Our campaign of sponsorship proudly supports Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church. Watch this.
I'm Nick Matheny from the University of Miami, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Ay, qué lindo. We'd also like to thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living, here in Fort Lauderdale, for making this set in this amazing queer church campus possible.
Finally, we thank Queer News Tonight's hotel sponsor, Best Western I-95 Fort Lauderdale. This is the closest and best choice to the famous Wilton Drive, and our hosts and guests stay at this LGBTQ ally partner. We encourage you to stay here when visiting South Florida.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share this news. We are the only LGBTQ television live video news in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of anchors Faye What and Shay Zaret, we will see you daily, and that means tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Good night.